Got to watch for, look at here. Queen number 2. What's going on, bee herders? I got my Bee Ninja sweatband on. Kylie Bug and I rode out here to the bee yard, or actually out here to the pasture to feed. There's that toilet paper all over my face. It's hot and sweaty. It's the only thing I had. Anyway, we rode out here to the pasture to feed Winston Cheeto, her pet bunny, in his big pen. And I noticed a bunch of bees flying around over here by the famous swarm oak. But here's the crazy thing. They were all over the ground. So what has happened, when I got back out here, changed clothes and came back out, there was a little bit of a swarm left up there, but what has happened is the cluster, I'm sure, formed up there and fell to the ground down here below the limb. So, never fun to get a swarm from the ground, because inevitably you end up with, you try to pick them up with your hands, you end up with balled up bees that are mad and want to sting you. So we're just doing the march. Maybe I'll see the queen as she clambers her way up the ramp, just grab some stuff I had. But we set up a nook here with some drawn comb in it, some brood comb. Put them a ramp to walk up, since kind of what they want to do anyway is go uphill. And that cluster was huge. It was all over here a few minutes ago, but they are making their way up the ramp. March. I also got the queen clip I had in my pocket here. It's had numerous queens in it, so there's some of her pheromones still in it, and they're trying to figure out if she's over in that. So that's kind of helping them pull up. Really, I just sat it there in case I see her. And we're slowly marching them up the ramp. In they'll go. It doesn't have to be overly complex. We'll let it happen. If we catch the queen, we catch the queen. If we don't, we don't. But if she marches up in there to that drawn comb and that brood comb, real good chance she's going to stay anyway. So whether I have her in a clip or not, I'll probably have the bees. So let's see what happens here in the next few minutes. There's always something crazy with honeybees. So here we go. The march is on. Enough of the bees have now made their way up into the nook. We've just created the runway here. Bees fanning, 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 calling everyone home. Many times as I've seen this, it never gets old. Never gets old. I haven't seen Mom yet, but she may have slipped in as I was moving around doing other things. They're certainly orienting on the box and certainly marching in, so. Still bees scattered all in the grass. Maybe we'll see her here in a minute. Right in this little cluster right here. So here's our queen. Right here, little girl. She was in that small cluster. There's Mom. How about that? Sometimes you get lucky. You got to keep your eye open, look for small little clusters. So we're just going to put her in the box. She's kind of small, probably unmated. I don't know, she may be mated, just slimmed down for this planned movement. So we'll rubber band her into a frame and Reach into her. That's too cool. You gotta watch for, look at here. Queen number 2. There's a second queen. This one's definitely a mated queen. I thought that might be part of what was going on. These bees were awful confused. So now what do? Do I put this queen in with them? Put the other queen in with them? I have to think on this one for a minute, decide what I want to do. There's pros and cons to both. But I think when in doubt, I would much prefer a mated queen, even though she may be on the downside of her laying career. She's got a few eggs and she'll get this colony rolling, versus the risk of a virgin queen still needing to go get mated. She might not make it back. So I think I'm probably going to give them this queen, and I've got a use for the other queen as well. So we'll see what happens. Sun's getting low, big fella. Stuff like this always happens right at dark. It's crazy. Still got bees in the trees. They don't know what to do, but they'll figure it out. So we've got 90% of the bees in the box now, and we've got 2 queens. At least 2 queens. I'm just going to kind of talk you through my methodology when I run into something like this, especially with a swarm on the ground. So natural instinct of the bees is kind of want to march uphill anyway. If you've ever done a tearing off split, that's kind of, you take advantage of that tendency or that instinct. So I kind of apply that same methodology to a low swarm on the ground like this. But I still want to be able to control their movement to an extent. So I misted the huge spread out cluster with sugar water. Not a ton, just enough to get them slowed down, get them stopped from flying, because I couldn't see the queen, didn't want her flying off. But enough to keep them from flying, but not enough to keep them from marching. And then I just slowly, utilizing a little bit of smoke at the time, began to herd the bees up my makeshift ramp. And as luck would have it, I did not grab a piece of my coroplast like you guys have seen me use 100 times. But I had this lid from my pine straw box with me. And just slowly started marching them up, looking for the queen and looking for other clusters. And eventually we got enough bees into the box that the natural march took over anyway. And then we found one of the queens over there on that end in a little cluster. We've got video of that, you saw it. And then as they continued to march, I just continued to watch, and there was a small cluster over there on that little piece of grass. And lo and behold, in it was, I'm pretty sure, the mama queen, a nicely mated large queen. So we got 2 queens. We got the bees taking care of what bees take care of on their own now, marching into the box. So what do? Which queen do we choose? And I guess in a lot of ways it's kind of preference. What do you want to do with your with increasing your success rate of potentially keeping these bees in the box? And as you saw, I went with the mated queen. The first queen we got in the box was an unmated queen. And then we call it the mated queen. We put her in the box. Why? Well, because more than likely in just a couple of days she's going to start laying. And then if for some reason they decide to supersede her, I'm sorry, my hands are shaking so bad this afternoon. It's 103 degrees and my essential tremors are kicking. But with the mated queen in the box, if they decide to supersede her, she'd lay some eggs, and they can plan that and make a new queen on their own once they're in the box and semi-established. Putting the virgin queen in the box, the risk I run is that, well, she's still got to settle down a few days. And then eventually she'll go out on her mating flight. And if we're lucky, she comes back a few more days and finally gets to lay it. And so we're just going to speed things up by putting the mated queen in the box. I'm not discarding the virgin queen. I have a queenless colony that I just discovered yesterday and was planning on tomorrow doing something about it. It being Sunday and 103 degrees. So, good Lord, as he does most of the time, provided us with what we needed. So, well, he does that all the time. Keep that in mind. He always provides you what you need. Might not always provide you what you want, but sometimes what we want, not best for us anyway. So we've got her. We'll add her to a box and see how that works out. But in the meantime, I've got another swarm marching into this box here. Like good little soldiers, into the box they go. And we'll let Mom stay in that clip a couple days. Probably late tomorrow. This time tomorrow, I'll release her. So what are we going to do with a swarm in August? I know there's an old rhyme, and it just will not come to my head right now. A swarm in May, and a swarm in June, and a swarm in July. Oh, it's July, it's not August. It just feels like August. What are we going to do with a swarm now? Well, we're in a dearth, southeast Alabama. Cotton's beginning to bloom, but unless you're on irrigated cotton, you're not going to get a whole lot from that. But the only pollen coming in around here right now is from crepe myrtles, and well, that's a domesticated plant, so you're not going to get a ton of those and a ton of pollen from them. So if we want these bees to survive, two things we've got to do. Feed, 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 feed. And we're going to give these bees plenty of sugar syrup. We're going to give them a little bit of pollen patties. They're going to be a little weak initially. I don't want to load them up with pollen patties, because then what we're going to end up with is small hive beetles just wearing them out. And I'm going to give them some drawn comb. Not a ton, but some drawn comb, which is already in the box. Let them cover the comb. In a dearth, unless we feed, they can't draw comb. 7 pounds of honey for 1 pound of beeswax. So we've got to feed. And this holds true for bees that we're doing removals on right now. They're not going to get those honey stores back. We just can't put that back in the hive without it crumbling and falling and killing bees. So we've got to feed, feed, feed those bees. So catching swarms and doing removals, especially this time of year, costs a little bit of money. Because we're going to have to feed them until hopefully we have a little bit of a fall flow, and perhaps they can put on some stores for the winter. Or we're going to make sure they have the stores they need for the winter. And then maybe next spring, we've got a viable colony. So that's just the plan. If you're catching swarms in the middle of a dearth, do not hesitate, do not waste time. Get the feed on them as quick as you can, and hopefully they'll start building up. So here's our other queen. Got her in a hair roller queen cage. 6 or 7 attendants. We'll let them take care of her tonight, and we'll do what we're going to do with her tomorrow. Well, I wasn't planning on making a video this afternoon, but you never know what the good Lord's got in store for you. Kind of cool opportunity to not only see what we do with a swarm on the ground, but also what we do with multiple queens in a swarm. So until the next ad hoc, out of the pocket, unplanned video, y'all keep on keeping on.